Here we are today with Chris Potts, co-founder of Xcap Securities, a new AIM-listed investment bank. Now, hi Chris, can you just give us an outline of what sort of services Xcap provides?
Yes, I mean basically we are a corporate broker. We do corporate finance, stock broking, fund management and market making.
So the full array of what an investment bank does?
Yeah, I mean the only thing we're not at the moment is a nomad, but we pretty much cover all areas of investment bank and its services.
Now, how did Xcap get involved and what was the attraction to market making?
Well, the real reason is probably down to myself. I've had 18 years of experience in market making. I was at Xcap Securities and Evolution previously, and over those years clearly I've got sort of a good experience of market making, and that's the main reason why we've decided to get involved with market making.
And what do you like about it personally?
Well, over the years it was a very challenging period of my life, but you meet lots of people. It has its highs and lows. There are times when it's very busy, sometimes it's quiet. I mean, if you want a job in market making, it's not going to be busy throughout the whole 12 months, but there will be some exciting times and quiet times. Well, that's the nature of the stock market.
Now, you were specialising in growth companies. Can you just tell us about how companies can attract market makers? Well,
normally a company they probably have to have an exciting product, and that's and also mainly liquidity in the shares. So if there's volume in a share, then that will attract a market maker to want to actually make a market in a particular share.
And you're sort of focusing on growth companies, and what's the reason for that?
Again, you get more liquidity in the shares of growth companies. Historically, over the years, I've been involved with technology stocks, clearly mining stocks, biotech stocks. So those sort of sectors, internet stocks, they do clearly create a lot more volume than your normal sort of stocks like industrials and perhaps house builders, although when there's interest rate movements then house builders will become more exciting and there'll be more liquidity as well.
Chris, how do companies attract the attention of market makers? I know that Xcap focuses on growth companies, and what do you do in your selection?
Well, it's generally where the liquidity is. I mean, clearly at the moment mining stocks are very hot. There's an appetite for private investors to want to trade in mining stocks, and they're certainly at the top of the list where there's liquidity. Other areas that historically have been hot, I suppose technology, biotech, just to name a couple.
Okay, and so when you assess each stock, how do you look after the bid, offer and spread levels?
I mean, again, it's basic supply and demand, so a price is dictated by where the buyers and sellers are. So as a market maker, in an ideal world, a price would probably never move and we'll buy and sell them all day, but clearly we know that there will be a difference between the volumes of buyers and sellers, and that's why shares do move.
Okay, so when news is released for pre-trading or during the trading session, how do the market makers determine the correct pricing adjustments to reflect the news that's been released?
Again, that's really just from experience over a number of years, but clearly if there's a profits warning in a company, then that share price is not going to stay unchanged at 8 o'clock when the market makers open their quotes, because all you'll see then is a number of sellers, and you probably won't see a buyer before a 10% drop. So again, we're trying to find a level where there's two-way business.
So like a lot of financial firms, I mean, market makers also have financial constraints. Now, how does this affect your ability to make the market?
Well, I mean, each company has a certain amount of cash to deploy to market making. At Xcap we have a certain amount, and I think it's good to have a discipline. At the moment we trade in about 230 companies. We are looking to expand that offering to over 400 by probably the end of January. But at the moment we're well capitalised to be able to service all those companies.
So, I mean, when the market's volatile, we know what that's like. I mean, how are the market makers handling the periods of high and low trading activity?
Well, high activity can be created by certain websites, tip sheets, that type of thing. Clearly there's more buyers and sellers, and that might create big gyrations in share prices. That doesn't necessarily mean a market maker is actually making money. He might have sold so many shares trying to service the stockbrokers out there. We do try and do a job for people, and sometimes there is shares that we haven't got and we have to sell, and that's why you might get big movements in share prices.
And so what happens with it when there's a big crisis? How do market makers handle that?
Well, if you get an incident like 9/11, suddenly you have to just equate where you think the buyers and sellers will be. The stock specifics go out of the window. It's an economic and overall picture of the market, so you'll probably get across the board a 10% or 15% drop in share prices just to try and create a level where there's two-way business. But obviously these situations are normally new for everyone. That's not just investors, but that's market makers as well.
So what are the key attributes for effective market makers?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I suppose, offering a good service to stockbrokers, which is the underlying clients, obviously, which are mainly private clients and institutions, and trying to create liquidity. Obviously, we want to always, buy and sell shares from people in the size that they want. Clearly, that's not always possible, but we try our best.
And so when dealing with mining and exploration shares, what are the specific challenges that market makers might face?
I suppose probably when announcements come out, we don't all think we're experts in mining, but we are developing clearly better skills than we did a year ago, because this sector now has become very buoyant. So it's really understanding the announcements. So that's when we probably refer to an analyst in-house just for a quick opinion, just to back up your own thoughts on the situation.
And do you see, what sort of future do you see for the sector, for mining?
Well, at the moment, it appears that the boom continues. The appetite from private clients is still as good as it ever has been. And clearly the resource sector is still looking very solid, so I don't see any change in sentiment in the sector in the short term.
In the future for Xcap Securities, what are you looking forward to?
Well, we'd like to develop our sort of niche areas. Market making is an area that we're going to drive. As I said before, we're going to increase our coverage there. We'd like to become the stockbrokers of as many companies as possible and offer a good corporate finance and corporate broking service. And stockbroking is an area we're expanding as well. Which so we do actually cater for every type of client, being the smaller private client to the high net worth individual up to the institutional fund manager.
Thank you very much, Chris, and best of luck in developing Xcap Securities.
Thank you.